Hey everyone. So I wanted to hop on today and kind of break down this trade I took from the New York AM session for SP 500. I'm going to be doing this with the replay tool on TradingView. Just a heads up, I can show the actual executions. Like I'm not trying to hide that of where I got in, where I got out. But this is mainly to show, again, my channel is about my journey, me learning and growing and sharing my thoughts and insights. And, if people get, a benefit out of that or, insight or help or even have feedback for me, that's the goal here. I'm not trying to beat my chest and be like, I'm the best. Like, I know I am still learning and everything like that. So, this isn't me trying to like show off or anything like that. This is just today was a good day. I saw the bias for the day clearly going into the market. I wasn't really confused or conflicted on my bias. I followed my rules, and it paid off. The main thing I struggled with today, which I'll show you when we get to it in price, is I closed too early because price action kind of shook me a little bit, and I was thinking like, oh, okay, I had already taken partials, and I was like, it kind of looks like, I could be wrong, and so like I did start to get a little conflicted and staying with my bias. So I did end up closing early to protect the other profit that I had, but had I let it run, like it pretty much would have went to my target for the day. So let's go ahead and jump in. You'll see this is the 5-minute chart for the E-mini S&P futures contract. So you'll see this is kind of how I start my day. This dotted line is the New York midnight. You'll see I have the Asia session here highlighted. Previous day low. So this is Tuesday's low coming in. So you see Asia kind of went up a little bit, set its high, and then basically spent the remainder of its overnight session. It kind of eventually went down below the previous day low. So it was just kind of like stepping down. It would break, consolidate, and then ahead of the London session, we went bullish. And you can see right here, these yellow dots here are the notating the London session kill zone. So you'll see, we kind of started trading up in the in-between hours. And as soon as London session hit, we went up above a high, broke lower, and then we still ended up going up and taking more liquidity up here. But London spent the first, hour and a half of its session essentially going lower and swept the Asian low. This is what ICT calls, again, if I'm interpreting everything correctly and understanding everything correctly, this move right here, from here to here, is the opposite direction of our bias. So this would be the Judas swing. And it's taking the sell side liquidity on a day that we're, I'm expecting bullish price action. So that's to kind of like get people thinking like, okay, it's going to go lower. So it came down, it tagged sellers in. So then you got to think, okay, if somebody was short here, where would their buy stops be? Like their buy stops might be above here, might be above here. So what does the market do? Is it tags these sellers in and then runs those stops. So runs above the Asia high, right? So now if anyone got short here, and their stop losses were anywhere in this range, they just got tagged out. And if somebody was buying above the Asia high or above these highs, now they've been tagged in. So, where would their stops be? So like if they've got tagged in, they might have their stop down here initially, right? Or they might have their stop here or here or something like that. So the market comes down and spends the rest of London session kind of consolidating here. So the way I interpret this is the market makers are putting this, or the algorithm or whatever you want to call it, like this price is being held here. So people are thinking like, okay, I can move my stop loss up to here to go long. Like price is going to go up, so I'm going to move my stop here to protect it. And then the market rallies higher just outside of the London session, right? 7 o'clock right here, which I have my kill zone, I think, a little later than ICT recommends. But since London's 5 hours ahead of New York, I typically consider 7 a.m. to be like their lunchtime. So here you see price, dips below the low, runs the high, runs the London high. So again, this is kind of reinforcing like, okay, people that were short here, or not short here, sorry, that bought, anywhere in this range or bought here or whatever, they're going to slowly be increment. So right here, they'd be like, okay, so we went below the low, we took off, I'm going to put my stop here, right? So this is a liquidity trap as I see it. And, I'm not going to lie, I was conflicted this morning about thinking like, well, okay, like we dipped below the low and then we ran the high and we didn't get a retracement and then we ran this high. So I was eyeing, like, let me draw this. I was eyeing right here. Is I was like, okay, there might be an entry right there. That might be all we get. But I was like, you know what? That's not my entry that I wanted was down here. Like this box here was the 15-minute fair value gap. Then this, as you can see, was a 5-minute fair value gap. So I wanted my entry on the 5. And you see my stop is right below this swing low with 4 ticks added to it. So that's where I wanted my entry, and I was like, you know what? It's either going to miss my entry or it's going to tag me in, and I'll either be right or wrong. Like, I don't know the outcome to trades. Nobody does. But everything was fitting my logic as I understand it, my rules, everything like that. So basically, this is kind of where I got on the chart, around like the 8 o'clock period. And so we had taken the London high, and I was like, okay, so what I wanted is I wanted a retracement below. This is the other reason too that I kind of filtered this area out in my mind, is that I wanted to be below this equilibrium, 41.2650. I wanted to be below that. And notice both the 15-minute and the 5-minute fair value gaps are below that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to wait my standard entry halfway through the fair value gap, targeting the previous day high, which, 7-to-1 risk to reward. So I'm going to go ahead and start kind of stepping through this. So you see, okay, 8:30 market open. That's what this vertical line is here. That's the lift of the news embargo. So usually the New York session starts moving around. So you see we went bearish, which is good. That's what we wanted, right? And we also had news at 8:30 this morning. Medium impact news, but still news. So price is coming down. I'm like, great. And then it starts rejecting right in this area that I was interested in. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, this might be it. And I was like, the FOMO started getting real. And I was like, okay, like, and actually this is around the time I have to take my kid to work, about 8:45, which hopefully he'll be driving in the next few months. So I'll be able to be at my desk during like the most critical hour of the morning for trading. But yeah, so the FOMO started hitting me here, and then I was like, okay. And then we formed a swing high, and this is while I was gone, so I didn't actually see any of this. But we formed a swing high. It was still kind of, finding support there, and then finally we broke through. And this is about the time I got back to my desk, about 9:20-ish, 9:25. So I was like, all right, I'm confident now. Like, we broke this swing low. I was like, I really need to see it get below this swing low here. Then I'm like, then I'll feel good about it coming down into here. And then there, obviously, the 9:30 market open. And this is what I was telling myself, too, is that we're not even at 9:30 yet. We have another news release at 10 o'clock. Don't be in a rush. More often than not, I get stopped out because of FOMO trying to get in before 9:30. I have that like pressure to like get in and hit the button before the market is even open. And there's a good thing, to try to get positioned and stuff like that if the setup's there, but you got to account for that volatility, so 9:30, see, we get a big bearish candle, breaks right through the 15-minute fair value gap, almost taps me in. So I'm like, all right, here we go. 9:35, we're tapped in, and a beautiful, beautiful rejection. Big bullish engulfing candle. Just honestly, the perfect reaction. Like, if we go down to the 1 minute, it's literally one tick of drawdown and just rockets away, and that's basically the reaction you want to see. Like, you want to see price react and displace higher, because that's where you found the institutional support levels, essentially. You found the protected position. So, so price basically, and actually, I don't know if I can turn on. Okay, it probably won't show my executions in replay mode, but that's fine. So basically, at this point, I was watching it and everything. I had a DMV appointment at 10:45 today, so that also kind of played into, I think, my psychology on the day a little bit. Sorry about that. Is that, again, I was going to be away from my desk, and, so I took partials at 2R, which actually, let me, 46. This will be, so I took my first partials here. And then essentially what had happened is, again, I was going to be leaving my desk at like 10:40 or like 10:30, and I was getting ready around 10:15-ish. So I started seeing this pullback, and this is what worried me, right? Is I saw this swing high right here. I'll show you kind of what kind of tripped me up. So I saw this swing high, price rejected this, kind of these up close candles here before a break lower, and we've been bearish, right? So, if I zoom back out to the 15-minute, like, there's a fair value gap right here. Technically, right, price ran the high, ran the low, came up into a fair value gap, right? So you technically could have, you could make the case that, and this is the kind of stuff that trips me up, is that it could sell off from here, right? So I saw that, and I was kind of like, that it wicked above that high and then rejected so hard. That kind of tripped me up, and the fact that I was like, okay, I got to step away from my desk. And then, so I think by here or so, I forgot exactly where. Yeah, because I didn't see this, I don't think, if I remember right. But yeah, so basically this little pullback here shook me out. Like, I had already taken my first partial at 2R, and then it retraced down and rejected after breaking that swing high, and I was kind of like, I'm just going to take my 1R remaining. I only put 2 contracts on this. So I took my remaining partial down here, and then, as you can see, price, went above this, then was, wicking above that, and, retraced a little bit. And, as we can see, and then this time I was at my appointment at the DMV. I went to the gym straight from there. So I wasn't in front of my charts for any of this. I was posting mobile, like, screenshots from my phone to my Telegram group, just kind of keeping updates on the trade. As we can see, 69 was 3R, so it hit there for 3R. So I was originally, I wanted to take partials there. You could have also taken partials above this high, and then as we can see, price basically for the remainder of the New York AM session just kept climbing, and then we get to the New York lunch hour, and that's kind of where it's topped out so far. So yeah, so basically, that was my idea. That's how I kind of framed it, is that we took the previous day low. The Asia low was swept by London. London came up, took the Asia high. So we had this range, and we had a 5-minute fair value gap at a bullish order block here. So, and then I saw this and I was kind of like, this looks like an ideal liquidity trap, is that they kind of made this false low and then rallied up again to where people are like, oh, okay, that's the support for the morning. I can go long from there. And you can see, like, it went up, whipped them out, like, took them out, and then went the direction. And this happens to me so much, is I'll see this, FOMO will kick in, I would have entered, like, here, would have immediately got stopped out, and then price ran against me, or ran the way I wanted it to go anyways. So I view that as progress and growth. And see, now you can see the execution. So I got in at 41.2150, which is where the limit's marked, and the low of that candle is 41.2125. So literally one tick of drawdown. I took my first partial here, and then I took my second one here at 41.2675. Yeah, so basically like the lows here. So like you can see, my mental was shook that I was thinking it was going to come back against me when, I should have just let it be. I had already taken partials. I should have just put my stop at break even, trusted my bias, and let it roll. So looking at where we're at right now, while I'm on here, I guess, go ahead and do a little bit of, so this is where we topped out. I still think the previous day high at 41.65 is going to get hit. The New York lunch hours typically retrace, where the New York AM session went. So if we look at the AM session price action, we're at an equilibrium, or we're below equilibrium actually. So it could be gearing up for the next set of longs. We don't have any news this afternoon as far as I recall. No news or anything. So, I don't see, like, we have a low here. We did have a, kind of looking at this, we had this dip down. We had a low, or a fair value gap right here that we've kind of tapped into. And this would be interesting because I like to see that followed by that, right? So we took sell side, we took the buy side, we've retraced back into the range, and actually, even if you draw the fib from here to here, we're definitely in a premium there, or a discount there rather. So, but I find a lot, and I get caught a lot on this low, and I'm like, great, that's my entry. And then sometimes they like to just poke below it one more time and then do the entry. But I think this could be a solid spot to get back in potentially. And I mean, honestly, let's just, for the fun of it here, let's just mark this up as if it were because again, I wouldn't enter the trade during the lunch hour, but around 1:30 or so is fair game. So let's just, which actually it doesn't look like it's actually tapped it outside of the lunch hour. So we would do that, one handle below, and I would keep my same target from the morning session since we haven't hit it yet. Could be another 5.63 R right there. So I'm not 100% sure whether I want to set this. I kind of think, zooming out a little more even, based on the 1 hour, I think another thing really supporting this kind of thing is if you look at, like, we've got, we've been bearish, so, and, this is basically the start of the week. Like, we have this gap, which usually price will come back and fill this gap. So we kind of just like tapped the bottom side of it and just sold off all Monday. Tuesday was kind of, mostly sideways. And then, this morning we took that low and then rallied higher. So it's kind of like if you look at, let me zoom in a little bit here. If you look at, we've got Tuesday's high, we've got this high that's kind of been taken, we've got these highs over here, and we've got a lot of easy liquidity that price could take going up into there. And if you look below, we've already taken these relative equal lows, and then we've got a daily order block that we bounced off of. We got a daily fair value gap down here, a volume imbalance on the daily here, we got an H4 order block here. So there's a lot of institutional reference points down here that would support a bullish bias at least in the short term, because this is kind of what I posted on my Telegram channel to start my weekly analysis, is that I kind of thought we would, now granted, I kind of thought we would run Friday's low a little bit, do this, and then roll over, is kind of what I thought. But what is actually happening is we've done this, and then now I'm thinking we might go here, and then I shouldn't have closed out on that. And then we can reject from here to then push lower, probably below here, if we're going to continue bearish. Indices are typically always, bullish overall, but, so that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. So yeah, definitely bullish here. Now we see this order would have been tagged in. We've run below this low now, so I would honestly, I think, like to see price take this low. I'd like to see it stay above this low, honestly, but take this low like it has, run up above this high, retrace back down into this gap, or this fair value gap maybe, and then run higher. Because it could very well, that could be all it was going to do for today. Again, it's I'm still very new and green and learning. And, a lot of people that are a lot more profitable than me, say take your piece out of the market. Don't try to call every piece of it. Don't try to, catch the entirety of every move. I would have been perfectly happy taking 5-6R on this move today, and I would have been done, and not even cared. But since I'm still learning, I do want to try to, even if it's just on demo or on paper, try to trade and watch how price works. And, even though I've already kind of had my trade for the day. But yeah, so I think I'm starting to ramble a little bit now, and the videos might be getting a little long. So yeah, but that was the breakdown of this morning's trade. Pretty much that's what I look for in the mornings. So yeah, so if you have any comments, feedback, on this setup, any setups that you were looking at, if you're learning, or if you use ICT concepts in your own trading, I'd love to hear about it. Yeah, so that's all I got for this video, and until I talk to you next time, stay safe and happy trading. Thanks.